What's up guys, Matthew Monas here, and today I'm comparing the Xiaomi Mi 6, which costs under $400, against the Samsung Galaxy S8, which costs double the price. But the funny thing is, both of these phones have the exact same specifications, or at least they're pretty close. So I want to figure out and help you guys find out if you should spend double the money on the Galaxy S8, or is the Xiaomi Mi 6 just as good for half the cost. When looking at both of these phones from the back, they kind of look similar. They both are glass, they both collect fingerprints very easily, they both have this glass that curves into the body, but I think the biggest difference is that the Mi 6 looks a lot cleaner. It just has two camera modules at the top left-hand corner and nothing else on the back, whereas the Galaxy S8 has an oddly placed fingerprint scanner, which is kind of awkward to use. Now, I do prefer the placement of the front fingerprint scanner on the Mi 6, and I really don't like the curved display of the Galaxy S8. I think it looks nice, but it makes it more difficult to type on and less comfortable to hold. There's an infrared sensor on the top of the Mi 6, which is not too common these days, but there's no headphone jack, which is strange since this phone is just as thick as the Galaxy S8. Water resistant is not present on the Mi 6, but you do have splash resistance, whereas the Galaxy S8, you can dunk it up to 1.5 meters and nothing is gonna happen to the phone. Now, I have to commend Samsung. This phone has a 5.8-inch screen with very little bezel, making it thinner and only slightly taller than the Mi 6, which has a 5.1-inch screen. So for the design round, I was gonna tie it. I was gonna give the Galaxy S8 the best design and then give the Mi 6 a more practical standpoint. But because there's no headphone jack on the Mi 6, I think I value having one over than just being a bit more comfortable to hold. So for this round, the Galaxy S8 wins. So for sound, it was kind of strange. I honestly thought the Mi 6 would have better sounding speakers, just because it has two of them. There's one on the bottom and it utilizes the earpiece as a tweeter speaker. But the Galaxy S8 actually got louder and it sounded fuller overall. So if you're someone who uses their phone in landscape mode a lot, you'll probably still prefer the Mi 6 because of the front-facing speaker. But if you use your phone on your desk a lot and you're blasting music, the Galaxy S8 is gonna provide a better experience. So for this round, I'm gonna give the win to the Galaxy S8. For displays, the Galaxy S8 obviously has the better one. It's Super AMOLED, it gets crazy bright, so outdoors you're gonna be able to see everything. Images look super vivid, even though it's a little bit oversaturated, and you just can't beat a good quality Samsung panel. You also have that always-on display, which is really handy, especially if you use your phone as a clock. If you wake up at night, you can just glance over and you can see the screen right away. But I'm not saying the Mi 6 has a bad display either. It's actually really good. It's just Full HD instead of QHD, and it's only 5.1 inches. It also doesn't get nearly as bright outdoors compared to the Galaxy S8. Also, the S8 uses the new 18.5:9 aspect ratio, so you're gonna get a lot more display in a smaller form factor. So for this round, it's obviously gonna go to the Galaxy S8. Next up is performance, and both of these phones pretty much have the exact same specs. They both use a Snapdragon 835, and the only difference between both of them is that the Mi 6 has 6 GB of RAM instead of 4 on the Galaxy S8. Both phones are fast and fluid, but if I had to pick a faster one, I'd probably say the Mi 6. It felt a little bit more snappier, web pages loaded up a little bit quicker, and that's most likely due to the aggressive memory management that Xiaomi uses on their smartphones. So this brings me to software, and I actually prefer Samsung's TouchWiz or Samsung Experience over Mi UI. It's just a little bit more fine-tuned for North America. I find that Chinese vendors who sell phones specific to China and Asia are very aggressive with notifications. For example, if you get an email, usually you'll get it right away because of push. But with Mi UI, it actually prioritizes the stuff that comes in and completely shuts off things in the background. So sometimes you won't get that email for 20 or 30 minutes later. What you have to actually do is go into your app settings or app permissions and give that specific application priority. On top of this, the notification shade itself, whenever I pull it down and I want to see more information about that specific notification, I have to use 2 fingers to do it, which is kind of counterintuitive. But if I had to give a winner for this round, I'm gonna have to give it to Samsung. Alright, so let's talk about the camera. The Xiaomi Mi 6 has dual single 12 megapixel f1.8 sensor. So one is your regular shooter, the other one acts as a zoom lens, allowing you to zoom in up to 2 times. So exactly like the iPhone 7 Plus. The Galaxy S8 has one single 12 megapixel sensor with an aperture of f1.7. And indoors, the Galaxy S8 did a better job with photos. It had better white balance, the coloring was better, and I found with the Mi 6 it was very harsh with the shadows, and the white balance was a little bit off. Outdoors was a very different story. I think the Galaxy S8 produced more sharper images. In low light, the Galaxy S8 1, it has a higher aperture of f1.7. The image looks clear and there's less noise, but the Xiaomi Mi 6 did an okay job for a camera at this price point. In terms of video, they both shoot 4K video and they both have optical image stabilization. I found OIS to be a little bit better on the Samsung Galaxy S8, but every once in a while there's this kind of jello effect with it, whereas I didn't have that issue with the Xiaomi Mi 6. For selfies, both cameras have an 8 megapixel front-facing shooter. The Galaxy S8 shoots a wider shot, so better for group selfies, and I also found it did a better job with my skin tones. So for this round, I'm going to give the picture quality to the Galaxy S8. It definitely takes better pictures, but the Mi 6 has that second lens and provides a little bit more utility. And finally, the battery life. The Samsung Galaxy S8 has a 3000 milliamp battery. With the screen on QHD, I was barely getting through the entire day before needing to charge. Whereas with the Xiaomi Mi 6, it has a 3350 milliamp battery, a full HD screen, I was easily getting through the day and a little bit into the next. Now, both phones support fast charging or quick charging, but the biggest difference is that the Galaxy S8 has wireless charging and the Mi 6 doesn't. Alright, so here's my closing thoughts. Both of these phones are fantastic, and obviously the Galaxy S8 won the majority of the rounds, as it should, since it costs double the price. It had a much better screen, slightly better camera, had better sound even though it had a mono speaker, has a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which seems to be a problem these days, and it had more battery features like wireless charging. But the Xiaomi Mi 6 did a fantastic job as well. It had better battery life, it has a great design, and it's half the price. So I think the biggest difference, and this still holds true today, is that if you want a better camera and a better display, you're gonna have to pay prices that resemble the Galaxy S8. But I think for the majority of consumers out there who don't have to have the best camera and are happy with already a good display, they'll find all the value they need in the Xiaomi Mi 6. Now, unfortunately, the Mi 6 is not available in North America. And if you were to import it to North America, you'd probably be paying the same as the Galaxy S8, so it really doesn't make much sense. But for those of you who have it available in your market, the question I have for you is the Samsung Galaxy S8 worth double the price? That's what I want to know in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, feel free to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And as always, I will see you in the next video.